Hi, everybody. I am David Ortinau, product manager at Microsoft, working on .NET. Ooh, that's a good reminder. Let me go close Teams so that people don't bother me for meetings. Chennai, India, yes. Bogota, France. Cool. I'm glad you all have taken time out of your day to come join us here and talk about .NET MAUI and Syncfusion. So I've got some wonderful content prepared for you today. We'll do a little tour of the open source stuff, the premium stuff, and then also, if you haven't seen it yet, well, we'll take a little tour of Visual Studio 2026 preview. A whole new Visual Studio coming your way that the Windows developers can all learn to love. It's got some new themes and cool stuff. Peru, Greece, Nigeria. Oh, awesome. I gotta get myself over to Africa at some point here. And India, for that matter. I've been close to Greece and also have not made it to South America. I got some traveling to do, folks. Cool. So I assume everybody can see my screen. I assume you probably see what I see, right? Yeah, you see my slides. Cool. All right. So this is who I am. Welcome. Just killing a little time while everybody kind of joins in here. And this is the .NET 9 bot that you see on the screen here. We have a new .NET 10 bot being unveiled, I guess, nowish. November will be the release of .NET 10. And it is some kind of a underwater submarine looking thing that looks very similar to this. You just put a little bubble on the guy and now he's underwater. So there you go. As I go and you have questions or you want things that you'd like me to talk about, feel free to drop it in the chat. Can't promise that I will answer absolutely everything. Definitely want to stay kind of on topic, but I am also happy to answer questions as we go. So if you've heard me present before, you know that there's probably a lack of structure. And I've got more slides and content than probably 1 hour will permit. But here we go. NOLA, I assume you mean New Orleans. Yeah. Cool. Here we go. So a little over a year ago, right about a year ago, August, I think it was, we created a partnership, a strategic partnership between Microsoft and Syncfusion. And the goal here was, we shipped .NET MAUI and .NET 6 months late. So .NET 6 went out in November. We shipped the MAUI part of .NET 6 in May. And that really was a first release to get the ecosystem of control vendors, service providers, a real product that they could then take a dependency on and start building upon. We tried to caution everybody that, hey, we don't, it's probably not ready for production. So keep on Xamarin for a while. And then, when you see the right point for you to transition to MAUI, then you can go ahead and do that. .NET 7 was very similar to .NET 6. We shipped it 6 months later, so it had a few more bug fixes in it. But the period of .NET 7 to .NET 8, we just really buckled down and focused on quality. And then going into .NET 8, it was really just quality. Let's bug fix. And Syncfusion, we talked to them and we're like, hey, this is the biggest need we have right now, is just really kind of knocking down the bugs, ramping up the velocity of contributions to the project, and just improving the overall quality. And Syncfusion was like, yes, like that will help us, that'll help you, that'll help the whole ecosystem. Let's partner on this thing. And so at the time of the announcement, which is the slide you're seeing right now, they shipped 20 free open source controls. Maybe you've been using them in your project. I'm going to show them to you. They're actually in a MAUI template that's in the box. And in addition to that, they dedicated a bunch of engineers to work with us hand in hand, like they're basically part of our team. So I'm going to give you a bit of a report on kind of how that's been going, and the great progress that we have made. So here's a wonderful quote from CEO of Syncfusion, Daniel. And I got the privilege to meet Daniel a year ago and kind of share his vision for their product, our vision for our product, and where things are going. And we're so very much aligned. We want to see you as developers and your businesses, your companies, right, be successful using our products, because without you being successful, it's like, what are we doing? Just printing T-shirts and logos. I don't know. So we really exist to help you be successful. So, love the fact that they are aligned with us in the vision. They see .NET MAUI as the future of cross-platform development. And, .NET MAUI and the pieces and parts, Android, iOS, Mac OS, that's the foundation of all the .NET cross-platform non-web stuff, right? Teams is auto-launching on my laptop. Let's not do that. Go away. And so, Avalonia, Uno, the wonderful ecosystem of partners that we have there, and those that build upon and with us, this is cross-platform development holistically, right? And that's definitely how we view it. So anywhere that you're being successful, we want to help you be more successful. Couple of pictures here. So on the left, that's, I don't know if you can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor? You can, kind of. This is us when we got to meet with some of the leads from Chennai that flew over to the US and sit down and talk about how we were going to collaborate. So this is kind of a kickoff. We were out for the evening there, but and playing cards. What were we playing? I don't remember what we were playing, but we got to meet them and kind of kick off and build relationship, and then got to meet Paul Anderson when he came over to Maui Day in London. So that's the middle picture there. And then at Build, we got to have Syncfusion on stage with us to talk about the progress of the partnership from their perspective. So that was a wonderful moment. So I'm really appreciative of all the work that we've been doing together. And this is a very important picture that Shane just sent me this morning, and I just had to include it. And you're like, why this ridiculous picture? We all work remote, and so we don't get water cooler conversations. And we were just so enamored when we were in the Raleigh office at Syncfusion that they had an actual water cooler. And so we felt like it was a photo moment. That's Shane Newville on the left. He is kind of the lead engineer right now for .NET MAUI. On the far right is John Dick, also known as Retth or Red Thunder. I don't know. I just outed your nickname there, John. Sorry. He is former lead of .NET MAUI SDK. He's now working on some AI special things, but he probably is an author of some library that you're using in one of your projects, some barcoding thing or whatever. So fun moment there for us. All right. So how is this helping .NET MAUI? Like, what is this really doing for us? So this is a graph starting from September of 2023 up to basically the present, August numbers. So I didn't include September because they're kind of early. And this is all off of the .NET MAUI repo up on GitHub. So you could source this data yourself and go validate it. And what I'm really showing here is the top line, the top pink line is PRs merged. And so you can clearly see that it is trending up and to the right. So more quality, more value is going into the product than ever before. And so then how is that being driven, right? Like, where is that all coming from? And did the MAUI team suddenly, hire more people? Did the community suddenly start submitting more PRs? I think that you'll see that it's kind of fairly flat through the first left side. Yeah, I mean, there's the bump, right? But generally, it's not really starting to trend up until right around July, August, September of 2024. And what happened in that period of time? It's this peach-colored line, the Syncfusion line, right? It went from 0 to wham, just like a rocket taking off. And what you see happen is it kind of lifts up everything else, right? And then you start to see that trend accelerate. And that's absolutely what we've all wanted to see happen through this strategic partnership, to the point where we're now talking to other entities about how can we do more partnering with you as well to help other areas of the .NET MAUI space. One of the things that's not represented here that's even more contribution from Syncfusion is the Android libraries. So Android X, Android Support Library, Firebase. There's some stuff in there that I recently learned is called Jetpack. And so those are bindings that we also maintain that are essential to Android development. And Syncfusion has been doing the work hand in hand with us. And we've actually had really good success with Copilot Agent on those things. So John Peppers has a script that he has been honing on the Android side that basically picks up changes when Google drops them, generates an initial PR using Copilot Agent, and then Syncfusion team comes in alongside, does the polishing up, does the validation, and kind of shepherds that on through to release. So all in all, super excited. It's been wonderful to have this partnership. I hope that you are seeing the quality rise as well. Anecdotally, I can certainly attest that when I talk to customers on a weekly basis, you know, and they tend to be large enterprises when I get on the phone with them, but don't let that stop you. If you're not a large enterprise, and you're like, hey, I'd still love to be able to talk to you about what I'm doing with .NET MAUI and where I'd like to see it go, always reach out to me, please. You know, I don't discriminate in that way. I'm just kind of framing that the people that I have been hearing from are typically saying .NET 9 has been great. It's absolutely the best release. And in most cases, it is the fastest .NET MAUI release that they have had, and they're super, super pleased with it. So we see that in our survey data as well. Our promoter score is the highest it's ever been. Our customer satisfaction is the highest it's ever been. And those are July numbers. So on that note, anytime you see a survey from us, please fill it out. Because we absolutely read all the verbatims and we use that information to guide our future investments. So it's definitely essential to us. We don't solely base our roadmap on survey data, but it is absolutely a strong signal that we look for, and keep it coming, keep the feedback coming. So here are some just high level numbers that are super useful to know, I think. So what has Syncfusion actually contributed? 787 PRs created. And this is since .NET 9, I believe. I time boxed it to .NET 9 GA timeframe up until now. So 787 PRs created, 515 PRs merged. And 61% of all community PRs come from the Syncfusion team. So that is fantastic. And how does that compare to all .NET MAUI PR work? It's roughly 20% of the overall volume of work. And a lot of our work, yes, it's bug fixing from the core MAUI team in terms of PRs and the Microsoft team. But you know, it's a lot of infrastructure stuff, getting builds out, and the PRs that are related to kind of the CI/CD infrastructure stuff. But definitely some feature work and some bug fixing in there as well. I don't want to shade you know, the contributions of the MAUI core team. It's definitely PR work as well, but we do shoulder the majority, if not all of the, you know, just the maintenance of the project. So that's why it's super wonderful to have contributions from Syncfusion and all of the community members contributing to MAUI, because you are the ones that are making the product move forward as fast as it is. So I'm very, very happy about that. How is .NET MAUI doing all up? Yes, we are going to get into looking at some Syncfusion controls here in just a second, but I wanted to give you kind of a state of the union as well. So you kind of have that in your bailiwick of reasons to use .NET MAUI and Syncfusion, right? So annually, year over year, we are growing 24% .NET MAUI developers. So that is great. That's a healthy rate of growth, fairly organic, and it's definitely seasonal, but this is actually 12-month averaged numbers. So there's no seasonality really reflected in that. Since GA of .NET 9, we have crushed with everybody's help, 2,219 issues. There are 1,800, almost 1,900 PRs merged since 9 GA. And I love this number. There's 25% less issues being created year over year. And why do I think that's such a cool number? because you see that the developer, we have more developers than ever before, but more bugs being filed, that tends to mean that the quality of the product has been raised, right? There's less issues that people are finding, so they're not opening new issues. And although we do have an occasional regression where we ship and break something, there's less of that happening as well. So that's to me a strong indicator that we're going in the right direction there for sure. In terms of like just general trends, 1.5 times the number of PRs created since GA, so we're increasing velocity there, and then 1.3x the number of PRs merged. Now, created and merged, right? We're creating more than we're merging, is really the gist of that story right there. And so that's why you see a really high PR open number. And we are working hard to try to, address that through a variety of ways. We're leaning into Copilot Agent, and you'll see a lot more Copilot Agent kind of collaboration to make PRs get merged faster at higher quality. And then just as well, just general process stuff. Let me go to the chat here real quick, because I think the next section is kind of a transitional point. I'm going to scroll back to maybe the first question or two. Is native AOT coming to Android in .NET 10? So you can experimentally use native AOT in .NET 10. We're not calling it production ready by any means. There's quite a bit more work to do for native AOT in Android. So you probably want to explore it, poke at it, check it out, but you're not going to want to use it production-wise probably until 11. So check in again at .NET 11. All right. Plans to integrate the Salesforce mobile SDK into MAUI proper. We do not have that on the roadmap. I would be certainly interested to know more about the value you see in doing that. And, is it like just include it in the templates or include it in the SDK itself, that sort of thing? So maybe Glenn, send me more information about what you're thinking about that. And then John says, almost finishing a migration from Xamarin Forms. Congratulations. I'm sure that has been a wonderful chore. And you're currently targeting .NET 9 for that. Should you consider going to 10 already now? Hope to be ready in 2 to 4 weeks. So if you think about that, .NET 9 MAUI will be supported until May 2026. So you do have post GA of .NET 10, 6 months to make that transition. You may, the way I would think about it is, if you know there are things in .NET 10, because you're so close to being finished, if you know there are things in .NET 10 that would make your life easier and make your app better, then yeah, maybe go ahead and transition right now, because RC1 is out. It is live. What do we call that? A go live license. So you can totally use that now. And then, you can see how it goes. Hopefully it's a very simple transition. I don't anticipate that there's much for you to worry about in that transition. It should be very straightforward. Fernando cautions you, says you should wait a bit. All right, cool. Let's move on. So you may know that you can do a brand new MAUI app that includes Syncfusion in the box. So what I'm going to do now, and Carter, I might need your help with this. I am going to transition over to my laptop here, and I'm going to share my entire screen from Windows. And then we're going to have Inception, because why not? All right, you can see that now. Cool, cool. All right, so my beach theme, right? Because we're .NET MAUI. So I'm going to fire up the new Visual Studio 2026, and it loads pretty darn fast. I'm going to create a new project, and I am going to choose Maui. I know this is maybe a little small on your screen, but you can probably zoom better than I can. Now, when I choose a Maui app, I, of course, can do the normal things, name it, etc. But here's the cool bit. I can choose to include sample content, right? So when I do that, and I can also, this is a .NET 10 thing, by the way, I can enlist it in .NET Aspire orchestration. So this is something that we're still working on, still baking it until Gerald tells me that it's really, 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 really ready. I'm probably not going to encourage you to click that button just yet, but it's in there. And if you know what you're doing, you can click it. We're really going to kind of look to, in the future, pump as much telemetry into Aspire so that you know what's happening with your application end to end. And so performance things and things like that will be showing up there for you more and more. All right, so I have the include sample content clicked. I've never looked to see what the info tooltip says. And so it's going to create this, and this is going to be the to-do app, right? We call it developer balance in the Maui samples. Ooh. I know this is super small. I tried to zoom in earlier, but with the screen sharing that we have, I couldn't quite zoom. But this sample is going to give you a bunch of stuff. It's going to give you MVVM. So you're going to see that here in the way that the app is structured. I did, and this is all on me. You can blame me. You can hate me for this. I named them page models and not view models. And I named this pages and not views. So if that rubs you the wrong way as an MVVM aficionado, then you can armchair quarterback me on that and tell me that I did a bad thing. But I like it. I think it makes more sense. So really, let's do this first. If we look at the CS proj, close, and we come down here to the packages, what's in the box? So you get Community Toolkit, you get Community Toolkit MVVM and .NET MAUI. And so this is really the way that we would recommend you start your MVVM journey if you don't already, if you've not already chosen like a Prism or a MVVM cross, I think is still something you can use. Or as soon as I start listing things, I know I'm going to leave one out and offend somebody. Or maybe you're into reactive UI, that sort of thing. But out of the box, this is one that we contribute to, and it's a Microsoft co-maintained thing. So we prefer that, but you can totally use whatever. One of the reasons you don't hear me talking a lot about best practices is because honestly, you spend more time in the production realm shipping your apps, and you know what's going to work for your app and your team. So you probably have a better sense of a best practice than I do in many cases. And as a matter of fact, I remember having a conversation with Alex Blount and Mike Parker and our customer team that would work in the trenches, and Sweeky and others with customers. And we had like a whole meeting where we were trying to agree upon best practices. And all we could really agree on is there are good practices, there are better practices, and then there are the right practices for your team. So that's not, typically for marketing, you want to be able to say this is the best, but there you go. All right, Community Toolkit for Maui. So we're taking advantage of that and using it for doing things like shell routing. Like if you go over here to the how we create our routes, this is a helper from the Maui Community Toolkit where you set up your page and your page model, and then you give it a route name. Probably wouldn't necessarily recommend you go with strings like that, but that's how we did it for simplicity. Sometimes we simplify things a little too much, maybe, for our samples. Ronan asked, is this being recorded? You can watch the presentation after, and Carter already answered it, sorry. Yes, it is being recorded. You can watch it after. And if you're watching it after, I don't know, drop a comment. Is it going to be on YouTube, Carter? Is that where it gets posted? Oh, you did say that. Yep, Syncfusion YouTube channel. Presenting and reading at the same time. It's like walking and chewing gum. All right, so then back to this. So then, of course, yeah, we've got some SQLite stuff in here, and you'll notice that we're using Microsoft Data SQLite instead of the Frank Kruger's magic, what do you call that? DSL that kind of runs across the models. But they added Microsoft Data SQLite added it made it trimmer safe and all the things. So then we were like, okay, it's a first party thing. We're going to include that now. Also, apparently, Entity Framework also now is fully trimmer safe, and you can use that with AOT and everything too. So that's a fun fact. VTech and our runtime team in Prague worked with the Entity Framework team to make that a thing. So if you have a historical knowledge that Entity Framework is to not be used in mobile because of those reasons are no longer the reasons. So you can use it now. And then, of course, the Syncfusion toolkit for MAUI. And so I think 106 is what the templates currently have, and 107, right? Is Paul in the chat? Paul, I think you got 107 now out there in the world. So let's go ahead and do that. And then let me go ahead and run this. We've been looking at less pretty things here for too long. And then I'll kind of walk through the code just a little bit. I personally, when I'm on Windows, I like to target Windows. And when I'm on Mac, I like to target Mac Catalyst as kind of my primary. It's a faster build, faster iteration loop. Yeah, so this is the app. You've probably all seen this app, right? You can add tasks. You can do projects. So there's like, it's more complex than a simple task and list. So you get more things going on there. So one of the things that I really enjoy using out of this Syncfusion open source toolkit is the text input layout. And that's the thing that gives you the ability to have different styles of how you wrap and display the toolkit or the entry or really any input that you put inside of it. It works for entries. It works here for a picker. It works for editors as well, and probably a whole variety of other input things that I'm not remembering. And it does some nice things, like it gets rid of your borders around things, and it makes it look consistent across Android, iOS, Mac, and Windows. And it's very simple and easy to use. I love it. And then I also have some what are these called? Chips down here for turning on and off tags and toggling them. Yeah. So I think those are the things that I'm using from the toolkit on this page. And then did I have any on the other pages? Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, I wanted to show you this one. Oh, this is the segmented control to do light and dark mode. Isn't that pretty? Whoops. I looked left at the screen share and I overshot the click. And then here's one, and I'm going to end up doing an improvement to this using one of the premium controls. So in order to do the colors here, there's no real good, easy, free, at least at the time that I built this, color picker. And so I could have used a picker control and done some other things, but I ended up doing this thing where I have an entry field and then I just have a box that I'm binding to and I'm changing the color of. But what I would really love to have is just a out of the box picker that does colors. And so, woohoo, what do you know? The premium control package from Syncfusion has such a control. So we're going to look at that here in a little bit. All right, so what do you need to do to get going with this thing? It's very simple to do. And here, just a quick tour of Visual Studio 2026. Probably looks very similar to you, to what you've used before. This is just for vanity, I guess, but you got like 11 different color themes here. So I think if I were Rachel from the MAUI team, I would probably be using something like this. She is a fan of pink. So not the singer. Well, maybe she is, but that's not what I was referring to. The color, or she might choose bubblegum. I think she probably uses bubblegum because I've seen her demos and her Maui demos, and she probably uses bubblegum. I am a dark guy. So how about everybody else in the chat? Are you team light, team dark, team color? Let the world know. Let's see, what was I on before? Was I on Cool Slate? There we go. Isn't that just better on the eyes? I think it is. So we, of course, have the live property inspector. We have the live visual tree. So very helpful for you to be able to kind of navigate down and see what you're working with. But of course, with the live preview over here, all you need to do is just click on the thing and it navigates you right to where that is. So if we actually, let's do this. Let's go back in the app to where I was talking about those SF input layouts. And if I click on that, now you can see there it is. So all I have to do is give it a hint and then wrap the entry. And I didn't prepare this, but what are they? Is their style? Outline, corner radius. Yeah, so I can set the corner radius to something funky and it'll change it live, which everybody can see that, right? Zoom in on that. Are you using hot reload? There's another one that I'd love to know. If you're in VS Code, you're probably having trouble with it. All right. Dark, better for long-term eye strain. Spoken like a true career developer. I am not only worried about eye strain or careful about my eye strain, but now my hands. So this is bonus. This isn't planned, but I just got a new keyboard. Look at this. That's half of it, right? This is the ZSA Voyager. So I'm so new to it that I'm not using it right now during the presentation because there's no way that I would click all the right things. Team dark. Roberto says light for better reading contrast. Okay. You have to duke that one out. Contrast is definitely important. So dark with no contrast is no bueno. All right, so you have all the things that you've probably been using already in VS 2022, live property inspector, live visual tree, live preview. We also now have the ability for you to do live preview without debugging. Did you know? So I didn't test this beforehand, but I believe you can go to debug. Was it Windows? New breakpoint? No, yeah, see, I shouldn't have done that. So there is a way for you to do this where you can do live preview without debugging, which is kind of more of a design service. So you can check that out. Some of the things that might look different to you, you shouldn't see, and you probably shouldn't have seen for a long time, Xamarin anywhere. One of the things that has been removed from Visual Studio 26 or is not included in Visual Studio 26 is hot restart. So this is in Visual Studio 2022, you have the ability to connect any iOS device to a Windows machine and use it as a deployment target. That is not something that has been carried forward to 2026 for a variety of strategic reasons. It didn't get used a whole lot. And it is something that, we have to make some hardcore decisions on where to put our investments. And so it didn't make the cut. So heads up if that's something you're looking for. Ade Dapo, sorry, I totally butchered your name there. I have a question concerning Android 16 KB page size requirement for every app developed after November 1st, 2025. Does .NET MAUI 9 or 10 support that yet? And if so, how do we enable it? I would say post that question to the Android repo and let John Peppers answer it. So it is something that we're aware of, and we will make sure that you are covered and supported for what Google requires. How do you get rid of or change your dark theme purple accent color? So if you're talking about the accent color on Android, you need to go down into the actual Android native styles and amend your accent color there. If you're talking about the Windows accent color style, I don't remember. I don't remember. Carolee, still old style binding, not new compile time Xbind. So actually we've supported compiled bindings for a very long time. So all you got to do is specify your data type and you will get compiled bindings everywhere. You don't need, there's no need for Xbind. No on-device debugging anymore. You can on-device debug. Can we still get our app onto the phone? Some way to test it? Yes. So if you're on Windows and you need to get your app onto an iPhone or other iOS device, then you need to just connect it to your Mac and deploy through it. It'll deploy right to your device. It just needs to be connected to your Mac. That's the way that everybody else does it. And actually, when you were plugging your iOS device directly into Windows and deploying to it, you weren't actually getting your app. You were getting a dummy app with your app injected into it like a Trojan horse, which sounds like a bug, sounds like a virus, but that's not really what was intended. All right, cool. Let's see. Is there anything else that I wanted to show you here? I think that was probably it. You can go so I highly recommend, go check this out, go play with it. File new. You can also do this from the command line, which is actually, if we go to screen share back on my other machine, which I guess I could just start screen sharing again from Mac. Yes, share the screen. Share this entire screen. Yeah, we're back. Okay, cool. So from command line, if you just do .NET new MAUI, and then you do a -SC, you'll get the sample content. Ronan asks, so binding better than Xbind usually? Well, Xbind, I mean, there is a library that supports it for MAUI, but it's not, I mean, it's like an add-on, right? So it's not the Xbind that you would have been using in UWP, WinUI, for example. So in MAUI, binding is just the way. So there's no better way. But specify your X data types and you will get compiled bindings everywhere and you'll see performance improvements, especially in your big lists of things. All right, I'm gonna close my Windows laptop. So what all do you get in the Syncfusion MAUI toolkit? A ton. So as you saw early in this presentation, there were 20 controls when they shipped it. There are now 32. I put it into an Excel spreadsheet and counted them. There were 32. It is free. It is open source. They already have 227,000 NuGet downloads. So make sure you go to the repo, star it, like it, do all the things to let them know that you appreciate them maintaining and shipping these controls. And they already have 30 contributors and they will take your PRs too. So you can go contribute and submit. These controls were previously part of their Essential Studio toolkit, and then they open sourced them. So I know one of the things when choosing a closed source solution is you often are like, well, I can't see what's happening. With these, you can. So tons of chart options in here. I love that they have a tab view. So if you are one that's like, hey, the shell tab in MAUI is too restricted, the native tabbing is too restrictive for the styles and the colors that I want to be able to use, then something like this tab view is the way to go. Bottom sheet, I use it all over the place. Text input layout, I use all over the place. I've used the button occasionally. Segmented control, I use everywhere. We're using the pull to refresh, the effects view, shimmer control. So definitely check that stuff out. How confident can you be that they will stay open source? I guess that's probably for Syncfusion to answer, but I have no it's open source. Like I don't know, is there a going back from open source? Like once it's out there, like GitHub has put it in the Arctic vault at some point, right? So like you can't go back. So what else do you get in Visual Studio 2026? I have a couple of cool slides that Mads gave me, and so I want to give this to you. Paul says you can be 200% confident. I think that's what Paul's means. Are there sample code snippets using MVVM now? Are the sample code snippets using MVVM? Yes. The one that I just showed with the sample content. Yep. So you're going to get .NET 10 out of the box. You get Aspire integration. You get the latest of .NET. You get C# 14 and all the wonderful things that the team has been working on there. They're working on finishing up Union's work. What was one of the other ones? Extension properties or methods, or I don't know. There's a bunch of cool stuff. Watch Mads Torgerson's presentations on these things. Intelligent apps, better than ever to be building in here. You're going to get obviously better Copilot everywhere all the time. Hopefully you're using Copilot. I'm using GitHub Copilot everywhere, and it has been very, very helpful. I was talking to a customer yesterday and asked them if they had been using GitHub Copilot, and I love the way they described it. They said there are recently enough. Am I still there? My screen just went away.
Yeah, I think that we might have lost you for a second, but that's
yeah. Am I back?
We can hear you, can't see you at the moment.
All right. Yeah, my machine just locked me. I don't know what that was all about. Let me get back to my browser. Looks like I might need to rejoin.
Potentially, if that, yeah.
Ah, I see my face.
I can see your face too.
All right, sorry everybody.
Oh, you're fine. It happens sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's something with this new setup.
All right, cool.
All right, screen is sharing again. Everybody, we're good.
I can see it.
I didn't get raptured, so I guess.
We're net positive, so great. All right, cool. I'll let you get back.
We're still here for now. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, Copilot. So the story about the customer. Yeah. So I love the way that they described their Copilot experience. They said sometimes it succeeds spectacularly, and then sometimes it fails spectacularly. And I'm like, that about sums it up right there. But on the whole, the productivity gains are there. And there are a lot of things that we can do to kind of make it more and more useful for us. So if you have a bad experience out of the gate, try it again. Learn about Copilot instructions, learn about MCPs, all those things. Just give it more and more superpowers. All right, next slide. So yeah, the whole theme of Visual Studio 2026 is built with you in mind. Tons of bugs have been fixed, tons of feature requests implemented. If your feedback issue for VS has not gotten the love you want, go recruit some people and upvote it. The team is listening and they're watching, and they'll help you with that. I have definitely noticed this. Same thing that this particular commenter says. It's fast. It's fast to open up. It's fast to open my solutions, which I absolutely love. Nothing worse than waiting for your solution to load up and be ready to go. Tons of little detail work, right? It's like, this stuff drives me nuts too, right? Like when you see that the alignment isn't quite what it should be and what you expect. As we already noted, big highlight, pick your color. What is the best one for you? Yeah, wonderful comment there. Visual Studio 2026 looks more beautiful. I agree. A lot of new work also that has been happening down in the settings space. And so this is something that the MAUI team has invested in, and you will see this also for your MAUI projects, is that those settings panels that were specific to MAUI will have the same consistent look and feel as the rest of the product. Of course, if you know the history, Xamarin was an extension that was acquired by Microsoft back in 2016. And so there were some disparity of implementations and things like that that have been unified over time. All the same extensions you've been using should still work, so have no fear there. I believe Syncfusion probably has a couple of extensions out there in the extension marketplace that you can use. Um, Absolutely use Copilot, use it all the time. You can't not use it. It's a great way to go. Yeah, and it has profiler support too. So if you didn't know that and you're looking for help with profiling your application, I know one thing for me is like I can follow the instructions and I can get the profiling telemetry information, but like I don't know what to make. I can't make heads or tails of it. Like I'm just gonna be honest. I don't know. I can tell you that it's slow, and I can tell you when it's slow. And with the Copilot profiler support, you now have an MCP that you can get some actual helpful, actionable information from that. I call it I always say we just want to take John Peppers and make an MCP out of John Peppers. And like, that's my profiler. And then one big change for this version of Visual Studio is you get monthly updates. So you don't have to wait longer periods of time for major improvements to your Visual Studio. You're going to get them regularly. Cool. So that's my little advert on Visual Studio. Ooh, we're running out of time. We only got like 13 minutes left. So this was my little, go premium. Like you're using the open source stuff, you're using the free stuff. Like, does it make sense to go premium? What are you going to get if you go premium? This is the Essential Studio UI edition for .NET MAUI. That's I guess the official name. So Paul has put out a wonderful blog post that kind of introduces to us all the new things here. So let's take a look at this together. I am going to open my browser and we are going to tour this a little bit together, if you don't mind. A little inception there, sorry. What happened to the other browser? Oh, it drug the whole browser? No, I was trying to separate my tab. There we go. I know how to use a computer. Yeah, so here's the blog post. So developers using .NET MAUI often face UI limitations. True or false? I'd love to get your comments in the chat about that. I read that and I get a little offended, but that's okay. That's why we have Syncfusion to help us out, right? So he goes over and first talks about some of the new open source toolkit stuff. And yes, I'm not going to just read to you a blog post. So you get a couple new charts, sunburst chart and a spark line chart. Sunburst chart, I'm just going to be real honest and say that I don't think I'm cool enough to use a sunburst chart. This thing looks wicked. I don't know. I feel like I'm defragging my hard drive or something when I look at that. Super cool. You probably have a business use case for it. I'm just not cool enough for it. It's a really cool chart. Sparkline charts. And then of course they've made some updates to the segmented control picker and tab view, which is awesome that they not only open sourced it, but they didn't just throw it over the wall. They're still maintaining it. They're still doing work on it. All right. So premium controls, what do we get? A ton. So I think the things that I hear most often from customers that they're looking for is the data grid. And MAUI SDK, we are not going to build a new data grid. It's not happening. It's not on the roadmap. There's tons of great options here. There's no reason for us to go do that. PDF viewer. This is one that actually comes up quite frequently. People need to be able to preview PDFs in their apps. And not only can you view it, but you can actually export to and create them using Syncfusion stuff. The scheduler, this is one that I'm like, I will never build this myself, but I could totally see needing to do something like a scheduler. Back when I was in my 20 plus years as a business owner, I had more than one customer that needed a calendar control or a schedule control built into their apps with things like agenda views and such. So I actually have, I pre-compiled some of their samples, and these are the samples, same samples that you can go download and check these out. So this is the scheduler control. And I mean, very smooth, very fast, does all the things you would expect. Horizontal grouping. data-wise grouping, all kinds of grouping. The agenda view, like I mentioned, you can do load on demand. So if you're like, yeah, but I need to go fetch something, it's got support for that. You got a variety of calendar types that you can choose from. So if you want to have the picker over here to change your layouts, you obviously have some internationalization, some localization. A heat map so you can see when your heaviest days of the month are going to be. I should probably use something like that. I don't know if those are the days to avoid or the days to just prepare yourself for. Recursive appointment look. And then, of course, right here from the sample, you can shell out to the documentation. You can go watch videos about it. You can go check out what this all looks like in dark theme, etc. And then I have also the data grid. Let's take a look at the data grid. Oh, it always opens on the wrong screen. What's up with that? So your typical basic data grid, you've got them for filtering, of course. So I can come in here and filter on Brazil. Filters very, very quickly. Master detail. So if you've got, and I see this in a lot of customer apps as well, where you're doing something like this, which by the way, if you're doing something like this in a collection view, and then you're like, why is my collection view slow? Yeah, nesting templated things is going to require some additional work on your behalf to make that super, super smooth. Stacked headers, like all the things, right? So just like tons of samples and examples in here for how you can maximize this stuff. This is another control. And when I look at premium controls, my personal thinking, because as a developer, I'm like, man, sorry, is it coming through blurry for you? That might be bandwidth related, but not on my part because I have brand new gigabit fiber that just got installed. I'm sorry. But this is 1920 by 1080, so it should be pretty crisp. Kanban is something that I would not build this. But look at this, you get drag and drop support. They got the drag targets. I like this one because I realized that they did something pretty cool here. So if I bring this out, so I've got two things that are ready to serve. And I've got order for dining and order for delivery over here, right? So if I go for order for dining and I try to deliver it, I don't get a drop target. But if I come over here to ready to serve, I do get a drop target. So they've taken advantage of our drag and drop support and done a really nice job with that. I appreciate that. That's super cool. Drag and drop's awesome. In my point of sale sample, I did some drag and drop stuff. So still blurry. I'm sorry. Is my face blurry? That'd be the part that I'd want to blur and not the screen share. All right. One other that I wanted to show because I had it up here. You also get this AI assist view, and like there's like 95 controls in there. And yes, I am shamelessly plugging this stuff because super appreciative of the partnership that we have and all the open source free stuff that they're doing. But also, like, if I'm going to build an app that does any of these things, I am probably not going to start by building it myself. Is that Visual Studio for Mac that you're seeing? No, it's not. We'll talk about that in just a second. And so, yeah, if you're doing AI chat type stuff and you're like, hey, I want to be able to do this, all I had to do was point this to Azure AI Foundry. And it's using my tenant, and I can do all the AI things using GPT-5 or whatever model that I have set up for it. And you get a bunch of options here for how you want to build this. Like I see so many apps now that have this exact UI in it. You just need to drop this puppy into your app, plug in your API key and your endpoint, and you're good to go, man. You've got a full AI thing happening in your app. And then on the Foundry side, you can configure the agentic aspects of it. And, are there workflows, and you can tie your tools into it and everything else. All right, let's go to what the eagle-eyed viewer saw here. So this is not Visual Studio for Mac. This is JetBrains Writer. And you're like, oh my gosh, a Microsoft person is showing a JetBrains product. Absolutely, I am. So a couple of reasons. There is no such thing as Visual Studio for Mac. I use Visual Studio Code a ton. It is my primary thing that I'm using. And so I would typically show it, but I thought, you know what? I've been using Writer this week, and Writer has been great. And not only has Writer been great, but I have been using GitHub Copilot inside Writer. And so it's like peanut butter and jelly. It's like chocolate and peanut butter. It's like awesome. So just do that. Now, one of the things that I mentioned is I wanted to do a plus up of that color picker, right? And maybe this is kind of where I'll land here with this thing. So this is the Well Done app, right? So the original app is To Do, and this is Well Done. So you did a good job by using Syncfusion controls and premium controls. That's the gist. So I was playing around here with the radial menu, which is another control that you get. And apparently I left it on the screen. That's fine. So here's what I did. I took that page, that meta page that had all the entry fields, right, where I had to put in hex values, and then it would give me a thing. Well, I don't need to do that anymore. Now I can just come over here and I can pick my colors. And if I don't like the colors that are in this palette, let's say that I want to customize the colors, I can actually supply the palette of colors in a list to this control and have it rendered that way. And so this saves me a ton of time. It looks great. It's beautiful. Works well for mobile and for desktop. So let's look at that page real quick. So if I come over here to the Manage Meta page, and then I come down here, I just have my SF picker right there. Can I zoom in on that? Yeah, I can zoom in on that. And I can probably close down my Copilot. Now you'll notice a couple of things here, or one thing in particular that I want to call attention to. There's no prefix on the XAML. Do you notice that? No prefix on the XAML. So this is .NET 10. So what I have done in .NET 10 here is I have no XMLNS specific namespaces up here for any of the third-party controls that I'm using. So this comes from the MAUI Community Toolkit, the event command behavior. There's no prefix on it. So you're like, Dave, how are you doing that? So you have the ability, and I put this in an underscore usings file.cs. And I said that in the live community stand-up this past week, and definitely got a few people that said it was gross and they hate underscores. Maybe you are team underscore, maybe you are team never underscore, and certainly not lowercase. I like it because it keeps it at the top of the list of files, and I always know where to find it. But here's essentially all I have to do is I can specify my my namespaces for XAML, for XMLNS, right? And so for the open source stuff, all I need to do is provide the URI. So there's the URI for the Syncfusion open source community toolkit. Here's the URI for the MAUI community toolkit. And here's my custom stuff. So I no longer need to have prefixes for any of my data types, my models, my custom controls, et cetera. And it just makes everything that much less verbose in my app. Cool. .NET 10, you get this. And that stuff is all available to you now to use. If I want to add a prefix, I can also add prefixes here. I don't have any naming collisions or anything like that, so I don't need to worry about that. So a couple of setup notes. All I need to do here is I need to do my configure MAUI toolkit. This is the free and open source, and then configure my Syncfusion core stuff, and then of course provide it with my registration key. And then I wanted to show you a couple of things here for improving your XAML life in general. So XAML Inflator, Source Gen. If you have been using XAML and Xamarin Forms and .NET MAUI up until today, then you are using XAML compiler with IL, intermediate language. You can't read it, I can't read it. There's only 2 people on the planet that know how to read it, and none of them are you or I. So what we can read is C#. So what you get now in .NET 10 is you get XAML Source Gen. All of this generates C# that is legible for you and I, normal humans. You can set breakpoints in it, and you can now debug your XAML UI generated in C#. And if you want to know where those files are and go find them, you can use this directive here and set it to true, and it will emit all that stuff down into your OBJ folder, and you can go check that out. Isn't that cool? Do all of these controls play nicely with C# for markup? Absolutely they do. And actually that reminds me of maybe one. Oh, and before I forget, extra thing. That's not that project. Close that project, close that project. Go ahead and drop any final questions you might have into the chat, and I will be happy to answer them after I show this one last thing. So if you know me, then you know that I'm a fan of MAUI Reactor, which is a C# way of doing MVU with .NET MAUI. So here I've got my render method, which is rendering out my page. And so this is doing fluent syntax for all of these things, and it's going to load up my vocabulary list, et cetera, et cetera. In this app, I am absolutely using some Syncfusion controls. And so how do I do that? Oops. So you can totally use Syncfusion controls here inside of MAUI Reactor as well. All that needs to happen is some scaffolding. So I can use a circular chart. I can use the chart legend. Any of these controls that I want to be able to use. I didn't actually have to write any of this stuff. Am I still here? I am still here. Okay. Oh, that was weird. I'm in another window that said I was logged out. I'm like, oh no, I'm still presenting, but I'm logged out. But you know who's really good at writing this kind of stuff? Copilot. Copilot does a really, really good job with this stuff. So just like this, yes, you can use it with C# markup as well. As a matter of fact, this particular app started out as XAML, and then I rewrote it in C# markup, and then I rewrote it again in MAUI Reactor, and now I am, just continuing to push forward in MAUI Reactor. And there's, as you can see, there's a lot of content and stuff in this. This is an open source project called Sentence Studio for language learners. So you can go check that out if you're interested. I don't know if it'll run for me. I was messing around with it earlier and I was in the middle of breaking it. Yeah, I broke it, so I can't show it to you. So anyway, with that, maybe I have a couple of slides just to finish this up, put a bow on it. I gave you the demos, and the final slide, my contact information. So please, feedback, questions, complaints, what's happening in the future, can you meet with us, that sort of stuff, any of that. My email is right there. Please send me an email. Nothing too trivial, nothing, I'll read all of it. And I can't promise I get back as fast as I would like many times, but happy to connect with you. And really, again, we build this for you to be successful and for you to enjoy it on a day-to-day basis. If you're coding in anger, I want to know that so that I can help, guide our efforts to improve this whole situation for you. So thank you so much for joining today. Let me jump over and I'll end this and I will stop screen sharing and let's look at questions and see what do we have left here. F5, run on VS on Windows to deploy, and run a Mac Catalyst app on Mac. That is not something that is on our roadmap to do. I am imagining that the reason that you would want to do that is because you feel more productive and you are more productive in VS on Windows, but you are building a Mac Catalyst app. So how would you best do that? There are ways in which we could make that happen. Obviously, what's happening right now when we're doing iOS is we are building on the Mac through the Mac build host, and then we are using the remote simulator to bring that back to the desktop on Mac or on Windows. Sorry, so it's not a technical problem for us. One of the strategic problems is going to be there are not that many people building Mac Catalyst apps or Mac apps in general. Just being completely blunt, it's not a large audience for us. So if it requires much effort to implement, it's not going to have the cost value ratio that it requires doing something like that. Felix says, you were talking about something related to connecting Android phones to Windows and how it's being discontinued. I was actually talking about iOS phones. You can still, Android is, you can do Android anywhere. You can do Android from Linux, from Mac, and from Windows. So the thing I was specifically talking about is a feature called Hot Restart. You can continue using it in VS 2022. That's not been stopped, but it's not something that you will be doing in VS 2026. Steve asks, how do you position MAUI versus Uno? So we definitely have a lot in common, and we are working closely together. As a matter of fact, we're working with Uno on a couple of projects right now in the Skia Sharp space and in the Android space. And so you'll see us continue to work together and more closely together. There are things that Uno does differently than MAUI that is, for a different developer audience. So if you prefer that flavor of XAML and you want all Skia drawn UI out of the box, then Uno is a great option for you. If you want native out of the box with the option of bringing in Skia Sharp UI, then MAUI from a rendering perspective, like that's how you would make that choice. As long as you are using .NET to build your cross-platform or single-platform mobile desktop apps, we're thrilled. Like that's why we exist. So if you're successful using Uno and there's anything that we can be doing to help you be more successful with Uno from a .NET MAUI perspective, then we want to know about that and do that. So, yeah. Is there any way to integrate MAUI in Teams? So Teams UI is predominantly, if not exclusively, web tech. So if you were to do that, you would probably be doing it via Blazor. You could also have a hybrid web view scenario, perhaps, where you're doing some stuff there, but the value that MAUI would bring to you in Teams would really start to diminish, where MAUI is the vehicle to bring your code into Teams. More likely, you would move the code into a web something, either Blazor or just straight up web. And then you would host it within a MAUI app via the hybrid web view or the Blazor web view, and then host it within whatever Teams prefers for you to host it within. I'm not intimately familiar with how Teams packages and wraps their functionality for their apps. VS Code versus Writer. I missed that question up there. You're just like generally asking my preference. I prefer VS Code primarily because I know it's going to get Copilot enhancements first. Also because it's where the .NET MAUI extension exists. And so I'm, of course, a dog fooder, right? So I want to make sure I'm giving feedback there. It's a bit more lightweight, although Writer is quite fast. And when the IntelliSense is working, I love VS Code. But there are times when, especially with my environment, and I'm on the tip of the tip of the tip, like the hottest of the hottest bits, things can get broken, I always know I can come over to Writer and some form of code completion is going to work. So the good news is I don't have to choose either or. I can use them both. And actually, that's something that we see a lot from our developer information is that most of you probably are using more than one thing. You're using VS on Windows and VS Code. You're using VS and Writer. You're using VS Code and Writer. Like there's some combination of things probably being used. There are less people using exclusively one thing only and ever. So MAUI is not typically first choice for desktop dev. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing desktop dev exclusively, then like what is the value that MAUI is bringing you? However, if you're doing cross-platform desktop dev and you want to stick with a Microsoft first-party thing, then MAUI is the way to go. Fidelity has been very, very successful with their Active Trader Pro application. So, and you can find out about that on YouTube. You can check out the video and the interview kind of co-presentation that I did with a couple of the product team from Fidelity talking about their app. And you can actually go install it today on your Windows and Mac machines and check it out yourself. It's very fast. And of course, for desktop, Avalonia is a great way to go, and Uno. So you have options. That's the good news. And like I said, as long as you're using .NET, I'm here to help you. In .NET MAUI, SVG images display correctly on Android and iOS, but fail on Windows. Will there be any native SVG rendering support on the Windows platforms in .NET 10? I don't have knowledge of roadmap stuff from them. They don't really, they kind of align towards .NET 10, but it's not really, they have their own shipping schedule and they do align on some major dates, but it's not really a .NET 10 deliverable for them. The SVG rendering support, if I remember correctly, is a particular library. It's like a Win2D something DLL. So I'm curious why they're not rendering correctly there. But I guess you're talking about live rendering of SVG, which is probably like an OpenGL type situation or something. If you have an issue and you want to email that to me and I can follow up on it, I will do that. Are there any competitive apps in the current market which are built via MAUI? I'm not sure what you mean necessarily by competitive. But if you want to look at like first party apps, there is a Microsoft 365 SharePoint admin mobile app, over 1 million downloads. The Azure mobile app is built with .NET Android, .NET iOS, which is .NET MAUI. There is also, I already mentioned the Fidelity app, which is a huge app, tons of users. If you look at our slide of companies that I typically share, I don't have it on hand here with apps, but there is the DigID, the identity app that the Netherlands uses. If you're a citizen or you're working in the Netherlands, you use this to confirm your identity. That is a MAUI app. Tons of NHS apps are MAUI apps. Name a major airline, and that probably has 10 to 20 MAUI apps running their day-to-day operations. Name any parcel carrier that shows up at your door and delivers a package. When you go to sign that thing and it looks like an Android app, probably a MAUI app. So I can tell you some of those things without actually naming names, right? So those are all MAUI. MAUI is highly used in some major areas. Let's see. Okay. Can I use .NET MAUI? Can I, from .NET MAUI, use Entity Framework to access a MySQL database? If Entity Framework can access a MySQL database, then you can do it from .NET MAUI, probably. Would you want to? I'm not sure. Are you planning to host it within your app? As long as there's, as long as there's an assembly for it, probably. SQLite is the way to go, though, for on-device stuff. And I use Entity Framework with SQLite. Actually, that Sentence Studio app that I was showing earlier, that's what it's using now. And as a matter of fact, I have data sync working with it to Azure using Entity Framework. Is .NET MAUI strictly for UI? Like, I wouldn't use it to do, like, if you're just going to do cross-platform console app stuff, you don't really need MAUI. So I'm not sure if you're not going to have some kind of UI, like, what would that be? So I guess, yeah. So I guess, but MAUI does non-UI things, I guess is the distinction. Like if you're doing local storage, secure storage, if you're doing GPS, if you're doing any of the device-centric stuff, then MAUI has APIs for that are cross-platform. As a matter of fact, when you go look at maybe not, I think Avalonia and Uno, when they have packages that say like essentials, like that came from our stuff. Either it was forked from our stuff or it is a repackaging of our MAUI cross-platform stuff. Any risk of MAUI getting silverlighted? I love that. Yeah, running away. You should. So I have seen the Silverlight thing comes up all the time. Silverlight lasted for 5 years. 5. Blazor basically is 5 going on 6 major release years. Do you know how old .NET MAUI is if you include the lineage of Xamarin? It's like 12 to 15 years old. Like go ask ChatGPT or whatever. Like go look on Wikipedia. We've been around a long time. And I think one of the things I can give you confidence for now into the future, like will it continue to be around? We have a multi-year partnership here with Syncfusion. Like it's going to be around for a while. It's going to be good. Yeah, so no worries. If there were a reason to worry, I would be on it. I have the integrity that I would guide you otherwise. So you get native performance for apps created with MAUI on all platforms because it ends up as native API on the targeted platform. Absolutely. And to that point, when you use native AOT, it's even smaller and faster. So the key with native AOT, though, is that you need to make sure that absolutely every assembly in your app is native AOT trimmable. So as soon as you go and turn on native AOT in your project and you go to build it, you will see a ton of new warnings that you didn't know about. You must resolve all of them for your app to be native AOT-able. But once you do that, you get a very, very fast and like 50% smaller app in most cases. Cool. Well, I think that's, we're like 20 minutes over, but I love answering questions. So I appreciate everybody hanging around, all 108 of you that are still remaining. There were many more of you before. So thanks. Go enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully it's not full of meetings and you get to write a lot of code. And let me know what you think of the Syncfusion controls and the future of MAUI in general. Always love to hear from you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much for putting it all together.
Right on, man.
Yeah, and like Dave said, I know we're a little over, but for anyone who's curious, like I said, we do have the video going up later today. I can share a pop-up that'll show up on the side of your screen now if you want to go and check that out. And also for all of these questions, we will review all of them and be posting them up later. So all of this will be going out in an email here in the next couple of days. But as like I said, David, thank you so very much. Appreciate your time, even though it was a little bit overtime as well.
It was bonus time. It was extra.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I enjoyed it all. But yeah, no, thank you for joining. And everyone, also thank you very much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you in the next one. All right.
Great.
Bye.